Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, back again in here with me, Dita, Putri, Nabila. And in here, I want to review our interesting novel that is talking about this point of immigrations. In here, from Morocco to Spain, it is talking about the Orientalisms. There are hints of feminisms, which from many interesting perspectives. And the novel is Hope and Other Dangerous Pursuits by Laila Lalami. If you ever heard about this author, then you're correct. She's really famous, an American author who had made many beautiful creations before. Maybe you know Secret Son, The Moor's Account, The Other Americans, and so many others. And so in this book, it is talking mainly about immigration, as I told about you before. It consists 4 chapters, each have different main characters. There's Murad about the struggles from increasing his life value. There's Aziz who changing his life perspective after moving to Spain. There's Halima who has been abused by his husband. And there's also Faten, a smart girl yet having an unfortunate fate. And so without further ado, I want to show you 5 of the emphasized quotes that I want to share with all of you, and the first one would be from Murad's chapter. So, that for every new bit of imagined future, he had to forsake a tangible past. This is from page 104. Now, this is talking about on how Murad's perspective as an immigrant, whatever if he move on to the Spain is actually a really great choice. Now this is actually playing on the narrative of Orientalism, because this is showing on how migrating from the hometown to the another land is actually something that really heavy for the immigrants. But it's not from what they want. It's not as simple as we thought it would be. It's because they need it. They have to do it to increase the life value, because at that time the economic is still low in Morocco, so they have to move on for a better life in Spain. It's really interesting because people sometimes not really understand why people moving and leaving their hometown behind. But mind you, immigrants has also have their own struggles. And the second one is from Halima, the poor woman who had been mistreated by her abuser husband. He'll become like a ring in your finger. Now this actually talking about when Halima go to her mother's house, and her mother talking about giving her husband a potion to make her husband not angry anymore. It is actually talking about the cultures of Eastern who believe in witchcraft while the Western not. But in here, I want to mainly emphasize rather than the difference of the cultures, but on the ring as a symbol itself, on marriage. In marriage, ring is work as tying someone to someone else in a relationship. In here, the ring itself shown how her Halima's husband, becomes something that confine her in an unwanted relationship in here in marriage. So she has to endure all of his abuse, all of his words, and taking care of everything as a housewife just because she is the wife. Now this is talking about the patriarchy environment that usually happen among women, about how woman is expected to obey and to be submissive to their husband. I'm particularly really emphasizing this because it shows that marriage, even though it could also be mentioned as a romantic value of putting the ring as a symbol of love, it could also be mentioned as something that confining to women in a marriage that they do not even want it themselves. And now this third one, this is from Aziz. His grief, having no anchor, seemed never to materialize. This is from page 96. Now this is talking when Aziz is visiting his father's grave. Now this is talking even though in here Aziz is eventually having his life messed away, like he's being influenced by the white dominations, But actually, it is also show the struggle he has as a human himself on why in the first place he had moved to Spain from Morocco. It is because an immigrant has no choice but to find a place that is deemed as good or better than their own, which in here the West is the Spain. And that's why in here he said that his grief having no anchor never seemed to materialize. It can also be shown on how his move has changed himself from how he has a pure goals at first. It's become conflicted as the stories goes on to where she has become influenced by the cultures. This could also show on how someone's culture or someone's living value has gone when it's being met by another new cultures. It is really interesting, but I suggest you read more about this if you are more curious. And now the fourth one is about Faten. We are so blinded by our love for the West that we are willing to give them our brothers instead of keeping them here where we need them. Now, this is actually a thing that we as the reader should open up our mind itself. Why people use Spain in here West as something that should be moved on for a better future? Because the media itself already has the West in maybe the Spain or another example the US as a place that the land of future, the land of success, to where the land like Morocco who still needs something and still like an economy gain insight so they could move to they move them family or themselves to find a better future. This is talking about how people want to move to find a better value from what they deem is better, as the media already telling about how the Spain in here is deemed as good. Although it does seem as good, we learn from the narrative that we also have so many struggles and conflict that we should face when we are expected to do the immigrations, because it is not as easy as it sounds, and for the immigration to immigrate themselves also, we should not look down at them because they already gone through a hard time of moving from their comfort zone, their hometown, to another foreign land just to increase their life value. And now the last is, that was the price she would have paid every time she wanted to see him. This is from page 84. Now, this is talking about the value of Faten has as a woman when she is talking about his customer that studies that women is expected to be loyal to husband. This is showing that women in the feminism narrative of how they are stereotyped as something, as a thing or the same thing, rather than being visualized as their own people, like as Faten's own individual. And that's why in here woman is struggling to keeping their identity in order to survive in this world. This is really talking about the positions on how women should not be stereotyped as it is, but also should be looked as each of the individualisms. That's why I think this book is really interesting, because it has a lot of different many aspects, could give us insight from many new narratives. I'll give this book maybe an 8 because the story itself is interesting, the storyline and also the value, but it could also work on some of the writing and so to emphasize it to be better to be understood. Okay, so I think this is all from me for the review. Thank you for listening. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.